Yeah. So hey, hello everyone. I'm Liwei from Netflix encoding team. Today I'm going to show how we do AV1 encoding at Netflix. Our AV1 encoding efforts focus on two aspects. First, all the content on Netflix are premiere content, and the production team, they spend a tremendous amount of time for their artwork. That's why we would like to optimize our encoding recipe so the creative team's intent can be faithfully preserved and delivered to the final member. Second, streams on Netflix can easily be watched millions of times. So basically, for every bit we cut in the encoding, there can be a very good payoff from the long-term delivery cost. That's why we always try to use our latest optimizing strategy to maximize the compression. First, let's see how we adapt AV1 recipe for Netflix content. One characteristic of Netflix content is high bit depth. Except for some very old titles, majority of the source we received are 10 bits or even higher, which is very good for preserving detail. But as you all know, for the existing encoding format, usually the most popular profiles only support 8 bits. For example, the main and high profile for H264 and the profile 0 of BP9. So we don't want to limit the device reach. That's why we have to convert the source into 8 bits for encoding. Obviously, you can see the details will get lost. And the bigger issue is the bending. I have some example scenes I put here on the right. You can see while these are very beautiful scenes, they all have this smooth gradient, which are particularly fragile to the bit depth conversion. And it's very easy to see some bending after the process. That's why we are very happy to see that AV1 supports 10 bits in the main profile. That means we can encode the content in 10 bit, and all the compliant device will be able to decode that. So here is the visual comparison. So we do left one is 8-bit encoding AV1, and the right one is 10-bit encoding AV1. You can see that the left one is heavily banded. And I think it's worth mentioning that we use SymQP for the left and for the right. And the bit rate is only like 1% difference. So you can see what matters here is really the bit depth. Another thing we saw a lot in Netflix catalog is this film grain. Sometimes they are from the original shooting, from the camera, from the film. And sometimes they were actually intentionally added in the post-production stage. But either way, I mean, we consider them as a creative intent, and we would like to preserve them. But because they are sort of random, so they can take a lot of bits in the encoding process. AV1 has this tool called film grain synthesis, and it's a mandatory part of this spec. So for the input picture, instead of directly encode that, it's first broken down into the clean part and the green part. The green part will go through this film grain modeling module, which will output a number of model parameters and got maxed into the bit stream. And at the decoder side, the parameter will be extracted and go through this process to resynthesize the film grain. Because it's model-based, so there's no pixel-by-pixel match, but the target is here, I mean, the pattern should be very similar. And so this reconstructed synthesized film grain will be added back to the decoding output as the final output. And we found this tool is very useful to our film grain content. So here is another example. The left side is the source, which is heavily grained. And the middle one is the encoding without this AV1 encoding without this film grain synthesis tool. And the right one is the encoded leveraging this tool. You can see with this tool, actually we can reduce bit rate by 30%. And visually, it looks much more similar to the original input. So 10-bit encoding and film grain synthesis, that was two major decisions we made for our recipe. After the recipe is decided, we leverage our most recent optimizing technique, per-shot optimization, to generate AV1 stream. So here is a very quick overview. For input video, we first perform this scene change detection, and based on result, we divide the video into shots. For each shot, we use this CQP encoding, and we use multiple QPs. So basically, for each shot, we have multiple versions of the encoding results. All these encoding results will be fed into this optimizer, which we call dynamic optimizer. And the task is to find the optimal path for any given bitrate. I have an example here. This is roughly like overall it's like 1 mega, but the optimizer can very smartly allocate the bits based on the scene, based on the shot complexity. And we repeat this process for the whole bitrate region. So basically for every bitrate, discrete one, we will get this optimal parse. And at the end, you will get this optimal rate quality curve for this encoding resolution. And we do this for multiple resolutions. In all cases, we do the quality comparison with the original undownsampled source. Yeah. So for each resolution, we can get a curve. And when we put all the curves together, you can see at a different bit rate, the optimal resolution will be different. That's why we further do this convex Hall, which capture this overall global optimal rate quality curve. And by sampling this convex Hall, that's how we derive the final streaming ladder. So how is AV1's performance on Netflix content? We pick a number of 1080p titles, and we test the 3 different encoders. They are all our production encoder, and we use our production settings. And to be fair, we do the per shot optimization to all of these encodes. And we didn't enable the film grain synthesize. I mean, it's a great tool, but currently we are still working on the objective metric to fully appreciate the visual advantage of this film grain synthesize. Yeah. So basically, for every title, we will get these curves and 1 curve for each encoder, and we check the bitrate difference saving between different curves, and we average across the whole ladder. And we further average across the whole collections we use for this test. Using the 264 as the baseline, and you can say VP9 has like 19% saving compared to 264, and AV1 has like 40% of the saving. So, so this is a summary. This is what Netflix AV1 stream look like. Yeah, we do time-based encoding and we do film grain synthesize because we found that that's very good for Netflix premiere content. And we use per shot optimization to maximize the compression gain. At this moment, we already encode the AV1 stream for hundreds of titles. They are being used for partner device testing, and they are being used for member A/B testing. So it's possible when you watch Netflix, you may already get some AV1 stream. And we also upload some sample streams to this website. So the community, I mean, if you are interested, I mean, you can download some stream and check the stream's characteristic. So yeah, so that's all. That's how we encode AV1 stream at Netflix. Yep.
Did you try the film grain synthesis on non-film sources?
We did some experiment there. We don't want to use that, yeah, obviously. I think it's limited by the film grain, how the implementing at the encoder side. If you have a smart film grain detection, that wouldn't be an issue. It will be very intelligently to detect, okay, there's no film grain in the content, nothing will happen. But as the way it's being implemented in the current LibOM, I mean, we found that there are some side effects, that's why we don't enable that for non-film grain content.
Okay, we can talk offline now about other uses. Okay, thank you.
Hi, good morning. Can we briefly go back to the slide when you did performance comparison? And I'm sure lots of people are interested here.
Sure, absolutely.
Can you develop a little bit more and explain the type of content, why this gain seems to be slightly less than what AV1 is supposed to bring to the table?
Okay, first, I mean, we use a mixture of different content from Netflix catalog. Yeah, so we try to cover it as much variety as possible. Okay. Second, you see the number is lower than some other people report. One thing important is that, I mean, we compare across the whole catalog from low resolution to high resolution. And we all know that for the new codec, generally they will have more advantage at high resolution because all the bigger transform and the bigger resolution.
Isn't AV1 supposed to surprisingly give a substantially big gain for low res as well compared to VP9 or other codecs? That's one of the first conclusions that was drawn a year ago.
We had a paper like 1 year ago, which we have put the resolution result. If I remember correctly, I mean, the gain is lower at the low resolution part, which is reasonable.
Okay. The last comment I'd like to make. So here you're talking about when you say X264, probably you're running placebo mode, right? It's the speed as well. How does it factor into these savings?
AV1 definitely is much lower than X264 and the LibX, but currently we don't pay much attention to that because we saw AV1 LibM is get speeding up, and we should give it more time to make the fast enough. Yeah.
Yes, when we look at the VP9 versus AV1 results, they seem to be lower than what we familiar with looking at the Are We Compressed Yet results.
Yeah.
Could it be possible that the convex hull is not is affecting some of that and maybe needs an optimization for AV1? And could it also be possible that these test sequences also are quite different to the traditional sequences we were optimizing for, and the codecs, they need some optimization for them, and that might bring the performance up?
Two things here. First, definitely content matters here. I mean, the test content is different between Are We Compressed Yet and our catalog. Second, I think, I only tried Are We Compressed Yet once or twice. I think there's only VBR mode and the CQP mode, right? And here we are using dynamic optimizer, which will adapt the QP for different shots. So that's a totally different optimizing gig. So,
but then have we done some analysis to make it maybe break down the problem? Like, for example, look at the results without the dynamic optimizer. And
we can do that, but here I think the new information we can provide is that how everyone perform in this optimizing mode, right? I think there are plenty of literature about CQP mode, VBR mode, how everyone perform. Yeah, so there are already plenty of information there. So here I feel that that's somehow additional, which will be useful.
Okay, that's good.
You mentioned that one of the advantage of AV1 is to have 10 bits in the main profile.
Yes.
But if I remember correctly, VP9 mode 2 is also 10 bits.
That's a different profile, right?
Oh, that's a different profile.
Yes.
But did you do a comparison against not VP9 main profile, but VP9 10 bits to take that out of the equation and have one less variable?
We didn't, but that's a good point. We can try that.
And one question over here.
I have a microphone. So my question is about the film grain modeling. So definitely you have to detect, the film grain, but you also have to remove it. So you didn't speak how you're actually removing it. Did you design an MCTF kind of scheme? Is that available for AV1 members? Maybe you can discuss the performance of what you have.
Yeah. So currently, for the film grain one, we just leverage whatever available in the LibM. So it's like, if I remember correctly, it's you need to supply the noise level through this parameter, and it's a Wiener filter will do the smoothing out. Yeah, so it's not ideal. Neither the level estimation is manual, right, or the film grain removal. Yeah, so that's something we feel that that the research community can contribute to make it more.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I know you also worked before on this kind of problems. Because if you have a very good motion compensated temporal filter, you can actually do a much better job of removing the noise and modeling it even better, and then you're adding the noise back, and the compression.
I totally agree with you. Yes.
Right, so
exactly. Yeah.
We've got one question here.
Yeah, one question.
JB will be next, and then Liwei.
So are there any, on your right,
Yeah.
are there any comparison data available, including the HVC, a typical HVC codec?
We don't have it here. I'm just thinking that in our previous paper, do we have any information? I need to look for that, yeah. But for this work, no.
Okay, thank you.
Oh yeah, we have previous papers that compare.
Our paper compared.
Yeah. Okay, SPIE 2018.
Your paper in my.
Yeah. Okay, so I can find it for you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for reminding.
Just wanted to follow up for the 10 bits. I think the main thing there is that part of the original profile. So unlike other, where the first rollout of coders may not one first part of it. That's a difference.
So
Yeah, so on the slide where you compare X264, libvpx, and libAOM, which is, yeah, did you try HEVC encode? And did you try VVC, the last VTM?
We didn't try VVC, but like Yanis and I reminded us, we do have previous paper which compare libvpx, libAOM, and X265. Yeah, so we do have some results in previous work and it's published.
And VTM?
Can you speak into the microphone? Then?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Thanks.
I repeat, yeah. So we do have some previous work which compares libvpx, libAOM, and X265, but we don't have a comparison with VTM.
Okay, I think we have one question here first. Oh, you weren't asked. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so your compression result is with VMAP. Have you tried other metric like MSSIM, and do you see similar correlation or?
No, we didn't try SSIM yet. So basically, I mean, in Netflix, we treat VMAP as more reliable.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Okay.
Okay, so hold on. I've lost the cue. Liwei, go ahead.
Oh, so may I ask a quick question? Is AV1 encoding in single thread mode or multi-thread mode? I'm asking this just because the paper mentioned AV1 encoding is using 4 threads for 1080p, and that would affect the quality as well.
Yes, that's true. That's the case. Yeah, for 1080p, we use 4 tiles, and each tile is a single threaded. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like
But
a multi.
Yes, but for low resolution, we use single thread.
Oh.
And for 540.
So
we
what
make
about the
2.
for this specific for this slide?
It's a production setting, so I think we use multi-threading for X264. The libvpx also multi-threading. Yes.
Okay, all of them are multi-threading mode.
Yes, it's our production setting.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Are all of them two-pass encoder?
No, X264 is not 2 parts. We use CQP mode. Yeah, remember my slides. Yeah, libAOM and libvpx, they are 2 parts CQP, but the first part is like super fast. Yeah, so.
Yeah, quick question. How new or how old your libvpx and libAOM code when you did this comparison?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
This when was your snapshot of libvpx and libAOM?
It's like a few months old. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you do the libAOM one, there might be some quite a big difference. I think in the last maybe 3-4 months.
RD performance or speed?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess how much?
That's depending on your content, but I think we generally see 4 or 5% maybe over the last 3 months or so.
Could I answer that? The other question too about do we see the same performance if it's just the same fixed QP? I think for our content, it's pretty similar to if you just without the dynamic optimizer and just fixed QP at different resolutions. This is another thing we presented, PCS, and I think video at scale.
Yeah, and just quickly to add on the SSIM question somebody asked, on the video at scale presentation that Facebook did, we reported pretty similar results. So regardless of VMAP or SSIM, it's pretty much that number.
Okay. We'll go next, then Steiner, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, so this is result based on the per shot optimized, like a dynamic optimized result,
Yes,
right?
all of them, yes.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, if we don't do it, we just encode and then compare between the 264, VPX, and libAOM. I mean, is there any difference in terms of a coding game between different codecs? For example, after this per shot optimization, I mean, the gain by AB1 improving more than before without it, or something like that. So I'm just curious. I mean, is any specific codec who benefit more than the other codec by doing dynamic optimization?
That's
similar.
That's similar. Okay, yeah.
Steiner?
Just a comment on the performance comparison. I think one reason why the RV compressed jet numbers are better is that RV compressed jet includes quite a few screen content sequences, and everyone has a few tools for specifically screen content. And that is something perhaps you don't use in your test set.
Yeah, we don't have pure screen content like file sharing, this kind of stuff. Yeah, we do have some cartoon. Yeah, we do have cartoon in this, but maybe that's not benefiting as much as as the pure screen content.
Maybe this is the last one. How are these numbers affecting your product decision? What I mean by that is, are you happy with these numbers? Are you encoding the whole catalog in AV1?
We are always looking for higher gain, yeah, and we appreciate the teams, the whole community's efforts for keep pushing the boundary of the comparison, yeah. So we have high hope for AV1.
Yeah, and since we're A/B testing it, yes, we're happy. And the limiting factor really is more the decoder support. But from an encoding perspective, that it's about, if you convert this, it's about 20-25%, and possibly not all devices support VP9, right? So we're really comparing AV1 versus H.264 AVC.
I think we'll call it. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.